All right, so willpower, huh? You want to understand it better?
Right.
Well, for this deep dive, we dug into some pretty cool neuroscience to help you do just that.
Okay, cool.
We explored this episode of the Huberman Lab podcast,
Yeah.
where fitness icon David Goggins
Oh, yeah, no Goggins. Yeah.
sat down with neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman,
Okay.
and they talked about this fascinating area of the brain called the Anterior Midcingulate Cortex, or ACC for short.
Catchy.
And it actually seems to grow when we push ourselves beyond our comfort zones.
Really? So, like, when we're doing things we don't want to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So what is this ACC thing? What is it all about?
So, it's a physical part of your brain
Okay,
located in the frontal lobe.
gotcha.
It's almost like a control center for willpower, you could say.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, in the podcast, they actually used the nickname Cookie Monster for it,
Oh, that's funny.
which I think is pretty relatable, makes this complex neuroscience a bit more...
Yeah, definitely a little less intimidating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the research on the ACC is really interesting because it's not just based on, like, animal studies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's some solid human data backing this up.
That's cool.
Yeah, so what scientists are finding is that the ACC seems to grow when we consistently do things that we don't really enjoy or even find downright aversive.
So, like, sticking to a strict diet when you'd rather just be indulging.
Exactly, or forcing yourself to go for that run
Ugh.
when your body's just screaming for the couch.
Yeah.
It's not just about physical effort, it's mental, too.
That mental push.
Yeah, that resistance, that I'd rather be doing anything else feeling. That seems to be key. Like, it really triggers the growth of the ACC.
Interesting.
Almost like our brains are wired to reward us for pushing through discomfort.
Like, it knows that it's good for us, and it's, like, giving us a little boost.
A little pat on the back, like, good job, you did the hard thing.
Yeah. So this is where I think David Goggins' perspective really comes in.
Yeah, Goggins.
For those who don't know, he's an ultra-endurance athlete and former Navy SEAL.
Right, the guy's a machine.
Yeah, known for his incredible mental toughness.
That's it.
He's all about, like, this no shortcuts approach to willpower.
Absolutely.
Like, he really embodies that.
Yeah, and he has this great quote.
I love his quotes.
Me too. He says, there is no fucking life hack. The hack is gonna fucking suck.
I love that quote.
It's so good.
It's so true.
Yeah, he's basically saying that real growth comes from embracing the struggle.
Like, leaning into it,
Head on.
not shying away from it.
Exactly.
But I'm curious, what does the research say about why pushing through these difficult, uncomfortable experiences might actually be beneficial for our brains? Like, what's the science behind it?
Well, one theory is that it strengthens the connections between neurons in the ACC,
Okay.
which leads to increased activity and a greater ability to regulate our impulses. And just, like, stay focused on our goals even when things get tough.
Makes sense.
There's also some evidence suggesting that pushing through those moments of suck might even increase blood flow to the ACC,
Oh, wow.
which further enhances its function.
So it's almost like a muscle, right? Like, with each rep, it gets stronger.
Exactly.
So each time we choose the harder path,
Yeah.
each time we resist that urge to give in, we're essentially giving our ACC a workout,
Right.
helping it grow and become more resilient.
Exactly.
And I think what's so powerful about this idea that ACC can actually grow and change
Right.
is that it means willpower isn't some fixed trait that we're just, like, born with.
Yeah, you're not just stuck with it.
Right. It's something that we can cultivate
You could develop it over time.
and develop over time.
For sure.
That's incredibly empowering.
It is, yeah.
Because it means we're not stuck with whatever level of willpower we happen to have right now.
Right.
We can actually train our brains to become more disciplined
Exactly.
and determined. But, like, for those of us who struggle with willpower,
Yeah.
where do we even begin? Like, how do we start to embrace the suck in a way that feels, like, manageable and sustainable, not overwhelming?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll dive deeper into in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, awesome.
But for now, I think the key takeaway is that everyone has an ACC,
Okay.
and everyone has the potential to develop greater willpower. It's not about some magical ability that only certain people possess.
Right.
It's about making a conscious choice to push ourselves beyond our comfort zones,
Yeah.
to lean into that discomfort, and to trust that the struggle is ultimately what leads to growth.
And transformation.
And transformation.
I like that. It's like a journey almost.
It is. It's a process.
Yeah, not a destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Goggins' philosophy, like, really lines up with what we're learning about the brain.
Yeah.
He doesn't sugarcoat it.
No.
He's very upfront about the fact that building willpower, it's going to be challenging
Yeah.
and uncomfortable.
He doesn't make it seem easy.
No, not at all.
Yeah, there's like a refreshing honesty to his approach.
Definitely.
He's not promising quick fixes or effortless solutions.
Right.
He's just acknowledging the struggle
Sure, yeah.
and saying like, hey, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, and I think that resonates with people because it feels so authentic.
It does.
And relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's a welcome contrast to all those messages we get about, like, hacking our way to happiness.
Oh, yeah, all those, like, life hacks.
Exactly. Just shortcut your way to success.
Yeah, Goggins is like, nope.
He's like, no, there's no hack. You got to put in the work.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the science actually backs him up on this.
It's so cool how the research is actually showing that
Right.
building that willpower, strengthening the aCC,
Yeah.
it really does come from consistently choosing the harder path. The harder path. Consistently.
Mm-hmm.
It's about those like small daily decisions to resist those impulses
Yeah.
and do what we know is good for us, even when it feels like mentally aversive,
Totally. But I think that's where people often get tripped up.
where they try and do too much at once.
Yeah, they try to make these massive changes all at once.
Right.
And then they just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, they burn out.
They burn out. They get discouraged when they stumble.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what would be a more effective approach then?
Well, I think the key is to start small and
Yeah.
focus on consistency
Yeah.
instead of like overhauling your whole life overnight.
Yeah.
Just pick one specific area where you want to improve your willpower
Okay.
and set a small, achievable goal.
Okay, so like what kind of goal are we talking about?
It could be something as simple as like meditating for 5 minutes each day
Okay.
or committing to a 20-minute walk 3 times a week
Okay.
or even just like resisting that urge to reach for your phone first thing in the morning.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, just little things.
Just start small.
Start small. Exactly.
So it's about building that willpower muscle gradually.
Gradually through those consistent efforts.
Okay.
And each time you push through that initial resistance,
Mm-hmm.
you're proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you think.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Like those small wins, they kind of build momentum.
They do. It creates a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
You start to feel more confident.
Yeah.
And that confidence makes it easier to tackle bigger challenges down the road.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to acknowledge that, like, there will be days when the suck just feels overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely.
When even, like, the thought of taking that first step,
Yeah.
no matter how small, feels daunting.
It happens.
So how do we navigate those moments?
I think those moments are inevitable. You know,
Yeah.
we all experience them.
Yeah.
And it's crucial to be kind to yourself in those moments.
Okay.
It's okay to have a day where you don't hit your goal.
Yeah. It's not about being perfect.
No, not at all.
Every single day.
It's about progress, not perfection.
I like that.
The important thing is to not let that one setback derail your progress completely.
So it's about acknowledging the difficulty
Yeah,
without letting it, like, define us.
right. It's recognizing that willpower, like any skill, takes practice
Yeah.
and patience.
There are going to be ups and downs
There will be, for sure.
along the way.
I think that's also where having a support system can be so helpful.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with people who understand your goals
Yeah.
and encourage you to keep going, even when it's tough.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that we're not in this alone.
Exactly.
We all need, like, that support and encouragement,
We do.
and maybe even a little bit of tough love sometimes
Sometimes, yeah, a little kick in the butt,
to help us push through.
for sure.
It's interesting, though. We've been talking a lot about willpower as it relates to, like, achieving goals
Yeah.
and making positive changes in our lives. But I'm curious, what are some of the other potential benefits of developing greater willpower? Like, are there other areas of our lives where it can have a positive impact?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like, beyond just, self-control and discipline.
Right. So while we often think of it in that context,
Mm-hmm.
research is actually showing that it might have broader implications for our overall well-being.
Interesting.
For example, some studies suggest that people with higher levels of willpower tend to experience lower levels of stress and anxiety.
Makes sense.
They seem to be better able to regulate their emotions and cope with challenging situations.
Yeah, because if you're able to resist those impulsive reactions and make conscious choices,
Right.
you're likely to feel more in control of your life,
Exactly.
which can lead to a greater sense of calm
Yeah. And
and peace.
less reactive,
Yeah.
more proactive.
Are there any other potential benefits that have come out of the research?
Well, one of the most intriguing areas of research is the link between willpower and longevity.
Wait, so embracing the suck could help us live longer?
That's what some studies are suggesting, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
It is.
What's the thinking behind that connection?
Well, it's still an emerging area of research,
Okay.
but one theory is that willpower helps us to make healthier choices over the long term.
So we're more likely to stick to a healthy diet,
Exactly.
exercise regularly,
hmm
avoid risky behaviors.
All things that can contribute to a longer, healthier life.
So it's not just about like resisting that extra slice of cake.
Right.
It's about like those small daily choices that
Mhm.
add up over time
They do. They really do.
to create like a healthier, more fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
It's almost like willpower becomes this like protective factor,
Yeah.
helping us navigate those challenges and temptations
It's like a shield almost.
in a way that supports our well-being.
I like that, a shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think this whole concept of embracing the suck is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about achieving specific goals. It's about developing a mindset
Okay.
that allows us to face challenges with courage, resilience, and a belief in our own ability to grow.
I like that. And as we continue this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm really curious to explore this idea further.
Yeah.
If willpower is more than just self-control,
Right?
if it's really about like developing a deeper understanding of ourselves and our capacity for growth, then how do we start to cultivate that kind of mindset? How do we move from simply resisting temptation to truly embracing those challenges that life throws our way?
Yeah, good question.
It's pretty amazing to think that something as simple as choosing the harder path, embracing the suck, as Goggins says, could have such a big impact on our well-being and even how long we live.
Yeah, it really shows how connected our minds and bodies are.
Totally.
And it challenges that idea that willpower is just about, like, gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to do things you don't want to.
Right. Like it's about something much deeper.
Exactly, something more transformative.
We've been talking a lot about the science, the aCC, all that stuff. But what really sticks with me is this idea that embracing the suck isn't just about self-control. It's about this mindset where we face challenges as opportunities to grow and learn about ourselves.
Yeah, it's about shifting our perspective, right? Seeing discomfort not as something to avoid, but as something that can help us change for the better.
And Goggins talks about finding his true self in those really tough moments.
Yeah, those moments of struggle.
And I think there's truth to that. When we push ourselves beyond what we think we can handle, when we face the things that make us uncomfortable, we often find strength we didn't even know we had.
Totally. It's like we have to break down those old habits of avoiding things and doubting ourselves to build something stronger and more real.
But how do we actually do that? How do we go from just putting up with discomfort to really embracing it as a way to grow?
Well, I think it starts with being mindful, becoming more aware of those times when we're resisting discomfort, when we're tempted to take the easy way out.
Like noticing when it's happening.
Yeah, noticing the thoughts and feelings that come up in those moments, but without judging ourselves for it.
So it's like creating space between the impulse to do something and actually doing it.
Exactly. Instead of just automatically giving in to that urge to avoid discomfort, we pause, we take a breath, and we observe it.
And in that pause, we have a choice.
Right, we can choose to engage with the discomfort, to explore it, to see what it can teach us.
Or we can fall back into those old patterns of avoidance.
Yeah, and I think that choice, that decision to lean into the discomfort is where the real growth happens.
That's where we start to strengthen our willpower and build resilience.
It's like any skill. The more we practice, the better we get.
Yeah.
And as we get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, we start to see challenges differently.
We start to see them as opportunities.
Exactly. Opportunities to test our limits, to learn, to expand what we think is possible.
It's like we're reframing the whole experience, right? Instead of seeing challenges as threats, we see them as invitations to grow and evolve.
And that change in how we see things can be incredibly empowering.
Because we're not afraid of the suck anymore.
Right. We're not trying to run from it.
We're actually seeking it out.
We're actively choosing to engage with those experiences that challenge us and help us grow.
And that's where the real magic happens.
Because it's in those moments of discomfort, those moments of struggle, that we often discover our true potential.
We discover who we are, what we're capable of, and what really matters to us.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into willpower, I think the key takeaway is this. Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
Don't shy away from challenges.
Lean into them.
Explore them.
And trust that the process, even though it might be uncomfortable at times,
Yeah.
will ultimately lead you to a stronger, more resilient, and more authentic version of yourself.
I remember you don't have to do it alone.
Find a community, a support system, people who will cheer you on and hold you accountable.
Yeah, because when things get tough, and they will, having those people by your side can make all the difference.
It's a good reminder that even though willpower is often seen as an individual thing,
Mm-hmm.
we're not meant to go it alone.
We all need that support and encouragement.
And sometimes that tough love to help us push through those tough moments.
Absolutely. And this conversation has really shown that willpower is more than just discipline.
Yeah, it's about resilience, courage, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones to grow and learn about ourselves.
So, to all of you listening, what's your suck? What challenge are you avoiding that might actually be the key to understanding yourself better? Take a moment to think about that.
And remember, you have the power to embrace the suck and create a life that is truly meaningful and fulfilling.